What's going on, cryptocurrency universe? It's the Bitcoin miner here, guys. Today we're going to talk about investing in Bitcoin. And probably the most common question I get is mining Bitcoin profitable and how much money can I make? So make sure to stay tuned. I'm going to answer all of those questions in this video. But to start with, we're going to cover the basics. What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a new currency that was created in 2009 by an unknown person using the alias Satoshi Nakamoto. Transactions are made with no middlemen, meaning that there's no banks. There are low transaction fees and no need to even give your name. Bitcoins aren't printed like dollars or euros. They are produced by people and increasingly businesses running computers all around the world using software to solve mathematical problems. It's the first example of a growing category of money known as cryptocurrency. So you might ask, why Bitcoins? Over stocks or ETFs or whatever else there are out there. Well, first thing and the most important thing is the supply is fixed. Yeah, the stock supply is fixed, but the board can always vote to add more stock or do a reverse split or whatever else. It's never really fixed. In Bitcoin, it is fixed. There's actually only 21 million, which we will cover later as we get into this. So since January 3rd, 2009, the value of one Bitcoin has climbed from nothing to north of $335, and that was on January 30th, 2017. As we all know, today, Bitcoin has broken more than $6,000 per coin. That is just about 9 months later or so. And it has more than gone up 6 times since I have produced this PDF for my grandfather. A lot of the value that people attribute to Bitcoin stems from the technology capabilities that comes from the digital cash. A way to transfer money from one person anywhere in the world to another person anywhere in the world securely, cheaply, and nearly instantaneously with almost no worry that the sender is counterfeiting or defrauding the recipient without the need of a fee-charging middleman. This is powerful. We no longer need Visa to charge their 3% or MasterCard to charge their 3% in order to buy something or send money across the world. So this is going to be revolutionary. And we're just at the tip of iceberg with this. It's only 9 years old. So over the long term, the distinct characteristics of the currency could ensure long-term value over other current fiat currencies because Bitcoin has a cap on its supply. Once 21 million Bitcoins are released, a number that will not be reached until around 2140. That's about 150 years, 160 years from now. The system will stop creating new coins. Now, the only way that the miners will get paid at that point is through the transaction fees. But that's way in the future, and we don't need to worry about that today. While individuals and institutions and governments can expect the dollar to remain fairly stable over short periods of time, months or even years, history has a chilling physical truth that over periods of many years, the dollar has lost and probably will continue to lose much of its value. In fact, the dollar is worth only 4% of what it was 100 years ago. Given Bitcoin's predictable growth and ultimately fixed supply, Bitcoin could become a store of value superior to fiat currencies in the long term. Now, granted, a lot of this stuff is my opinion. Some of this is fact. So please do not take this as investment advice. This is also just meant to educate you on what Bitcoin is and why I personally feel it's a good idea to invest into it. Should have said that at the beginning, but hopefully it's not too late at this point. So now the biggest question is the speed at which the currency is being adopted by large corporations. Bitcoin has no value if I cannot spend it. If I cannot go and buy a car with it, fix my house, or buy a computer with it. Now, today, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of businesses that accept Bitcoin as a transaction medium. Microsoft, Apple, Overstock, Expedia, Kmart, Sears, Home Depot, Tesla, Zappos, Fiverr, Dell. I mean, the list goes on and on and on I couldn't even put everything here, but I think this covers the basics, that if you have Bitcoin, you can use it, you can spend it, you can buy food, you can fix your car, you can fix your house. It's a tangible product. This coin is simply not going to go anywhere anytime soon. The true value of the coin is still yet to be seen until the entire world understands how the coin works and what it is really used for. There's a lot of speculations from a lot of smart people that conclude that one Bitcoin could be worth $1 million. Just one Bitcoin could be worth $1 million. And let me elaborate on that just a little bit. This was actually a TED Talk that I had watched, where it was Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and a bunch of other CEOs from large corporations. And the one thing that hit home with me, and when they had said that it could be worth $1 million, that there are more than 38 million millionaires in the world that could afford to pay $1 million for a Bitcoin. There are only 21 million Bitcoins in the world. So therefore, there's enough millionaires with $1 million accessible that they would be able to pay for one Bitcoin if they wanted it. So that's where that price came from. And to me, that really made sense. Now, will I see this in my lifetime? I don't know. Will we see $100,000? I'm pretty sure I will. Will I see $1 million? I'm not sure. But for now, I'm happy for what it's doing. A Bitcoin investment made about a year ago would have risen about 385%, going slightly more than $240 to about $928 now. So, of course, this does not guarantee the future price trend and may be a temporary setbacks along the way, but the fundamentals of Bitcoin remain very strong. So what I'm trying to point out or explain to you guys here is that Bitcoin has been growing over the last year pretty drastically. A 400% return on an investment is drastic. And, you know, unfortunately, there can be pullbacks. You know, with a 400% return, we could expect it to drop all the way back down to maybe $500. But because of the way Bitcoin works, it's such a limited supply, and there will never be more and more of them. In fact, the more and more people that want them, the more and more the price will go up. As we've seen over the summer, since I've made this documentation, that Bitcoin has reached over $6,000. You know, there's a lot of news and events that have happened to help that, but it's just pure proof that Bitcoin is not going anywhere anytime soon. So now let's say that you believe me and you're interested in Bitcoin and you want to go ahead and get yourself your first Bitcoin or your first piece of Bitcoin. Now we're going to talk about how you can acquire them. The first thing is you're going to be able to buy them on exchanges. There are going to be several marketplaces that you can buy them from, sell them from. The largest is actually Coinbase, and this is going to be the easiest for beginners. Is Coinbase. You don't own your private keys. This is not necessarily the best way to own Bitcoin because your Coinbase is essentially a bank. You're trusting them like a bank. And they are holding your Bitcoin for you in your name. They technically own it and control it. But as a beginner and getting into it, this is the best way to learn about Bitcoin and dabble. And as you learn and get more into it, you'll learn how to make hard wallets. You'll learn how to get different ways of storing your Bitcoin, whether it be using your phone apps or your computers. And we'll get to that with time. But for now, this is the safest and best way. And what they'll do is you link your bank account to them, and you can buy and sell Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies directly through them. And I'll put a link down in the description to Coinbase if you are interested to create an account with them. If you actually buy $100 worth, you get an extra $10 free, and I'll get $10 free if you use my link that'll be down in the description. But that's not the main reason I'm recommending it. It's just the easiest and safest for beginners. And there's obviously much better ways to deal with it and get Bitcoins, but I think that's your best bet. Now, the next best way is mining. People compete to mine Bitcoins using computers to solve complex math puzzles, basically. This is how Bitcoins are created. Currently, the winner is rewarded 12.5 Bitcoins roughly every 10 minutes. There's an upper limit, as I said before, 21 million Bitcoins. This reward decreases over time, and it will be halved every 210,000 blocks, which is approximately every 4 years. So every 4 years, it will get halved. It will go from 12.5 to 6.25, and then after that, it will go to 3 and a 12.5. And then it'll keep doing that over and over and over in years. And as it continues to do that, the last 7% of Bitcoin will be mined over a time span of 100 years. So right now, we're in the best time for to actually obtain Bitcoin. It's really cheap at this point because you're getting 12 every 10 minutes. After 2020, it'll switch down to 6.5. And then another 4 years after 2025 is when it's going to get really low to 3 Bitcoin every 10 minutes, which I think will be a great potential for the price to get astronomically high, but we're not going to even speculate there. We'll let time in the future tell itself. So now the other way of getting it, instead of using Coinbase, is actually knowing somebody, having a friend, and you can do an instant transfer just using a mobile app, and the Bitcoins are actually stored on your phone. So unfortunately, if you lose your phone or your private key, you lose your Bitcoin. And that's why I recommend people to use Coinbase, because it's more like a bank account. If you lose your password to log in, they can use your cell phone number to help you recover it. And it's going to be better for your everyday average Joe people, especially my grandfather, to get into Bitcoin. And over time, over the years goes by, you'll slowly learn more and more and learn how to get your Bitcoin more secure. Now, if you're buying large amounts of Bitcoin, large amounts, obviously you're probably going to want to pay a professional to help you store it properly, and maybe not use a Coinbase or some of these sources. But that's for another video. Now, owning Bitcoins are stored on a digital wallet, which exists either in the cloud or on a user's computer. The wallet is a kind of virtual bank account that allows users to send or receive Bitcoin or pay for goods and not use money. Unlike bank accounts, Bitcoin wallets are not insured by the FDIC. So therefore, if you have I think it's up to $250,000 these days. If you have $250,000 and your bank account and something happens, the bank closes, gets robbed, your money is protected. It is federally insured. Storing money on Bitcoin, Coinbase, your own hard wallets, your cell phone, it's not insured. If you lose it, you lose it. It's gone. So these are very, things to keep in mind. This is an emerging technology. There's potential to make large gains, but there's also potential to have losses. And you need to be aware of all of the situations and how all of these things apply. But it is very safe. Don't let me scare you. I just want to make sure to point out all of these things. Now, investing in Bitcoin. There are different ways of investing in Bitcoin, like holding the currency in hopes that it appreciates in value. You can invest in Bitcoin-related companies, which are buying ICOs or new coins that are coming out. If you want to invest in them because you believe in the technology and you think it's going to revolutionize the world. And you can buy them usually cheap, and it's known as speculation buying. Or you can mine Bitcoin, which is going to be our main focus for investing. I made this proposal trying to create a small to medium-sized mining farm for my dad and my grandfather and I. So this is relatively the proposal. So now that we've decided we want to get into mining Bitcoin, it can be very profitable on a large scale. I'm assuming you're wondering how this works and basically how you get paid. Excuse me. I'm assuming you're wondering how this works, but basically you're getting paid for processing power. You have a very powerful computer that you are lending to a network, and the network is reimbursing you for your power, for your time and your power, and you make a profit on it. And this is known as mining. So let's take a look at some basic math and if we can scale it up. One server, which is an S9, which costs about $1,600. I think they're a little bit cheaper these days. I think I saw them for $1,400 on the websites, but they're very hard to get your hands on. plus the power supply. And the power supplies are about 200 to 500 depending on what you want to use. One S9 can make about, let's see, where is it? One S9 can make about $9 a day. Now this was back at the beginning of the year. That same machine is making $14.91 a day as of yesterday, but it costs you $2.25 a day in electricity run. So instead of going down in the profitability, it actually has gone up because of the price of Bitcoin has gone up so high. So these machines usually degrade as you can over time, versus they've actually been going up. So Bitcoin mining is extremely profitable, guys. So forget the $9 and focus on the $15 a day is what these things make. Minus your power cost, you're making $12.60 a day for this machine, which means the old ROI was about 235 days. When you get into Bitcoin mining, you generally think you want 180 days to 200 days. And it does fluctuate. Depend on, what the price of Bitcoin is that day and the difficulty. As of today, if you were to buy an Antminer S9 right now and plug it in, you would recoup your cost in 121 days. That is incredible. So it's extremely profitable. This is only one machine. Just one machine can make you $12.60 a day after your power costs. Now let's try scaling this up. With about $170,000 plus the infrastructure, this could be buildings, AC systems, the infrastructure costs can be quite high. You could run about 100 of these machines, which could make about $900 a day gross and about $675 a day profit after the power costs. The power costs can actually go down more if you have the right setup. That's gonna be a very long elaboration, so we're gonna leave that alone. Now this is where it starts to get a bit more complicated because the math is based on selling Bitcoins every day. Now, if you can afford to hold your Bitcoins for a longer period of time, say 75 days or so, it can go up by 20%. And if you sold on a rotating basis instead of selling every day. Now, this can backfire on you. The price of Bitcoin just recently has been going up, up, and up. Fortunately, what goes up must come down. Is that true for Bitcoin because of the short supply and the high demand? Who knows? Only time will tell. So there are a lot of variables here. And this is, again, just the information I was presenting to my family to get them interested into mining in order to build a smaller mining facility. We did not, this was not enough to convince them for me to raise $175,000. We raised a much smaller portion of this, closer to a quarter of the $170,000, and did something much smaller as a test phase to help show them how mining can be profitable and what it's all about. So now let's assume that you're making an average of $700 a day profit, 365 days a year. That's $255,000 in 1 year that this facility can pull in. Now again, this math right here is based on the old number, which is $9 a day, not $14.91. You can do the math for $14.91. Is this going to hold? I don't know. Is $9 considered the low? Sure. Maybe you should do your math somewhere in between. But my point is, this is very profitable. Very, very profitable. Because we were talking about putting $170,000 into it, plus infrastructure. Let's just say that your infrastructure cost you $30,000. You paid for all of your equipment and everything and just made $55,000 in 1 year. This does not account for overheads such as rent and a few other things, but it does account for power profit. In the past, these machines were only profitable for about a year and a half. Commercial power in North Carolina is the second cheapest in the country. Yeah, none of that's going to matter to you so much, but this was more for us. Due to technology restraints, I believe the next batch will be more profitable, much longer time frame, especially that the new ones are coming out soon. Over time, a certain percentage is going to have to be reinvested in maintaining the profitability. Now, once the machines are no longer profitable for us due to power costs, there are always people with free power willing to pay around $400 to $500 a piece for the machines. So that's $40,000 to $50,000 that you can recoup when you already have the power supplies, when you have to cycle the machines. What I'm trying to say here is this number is great for the first year, but you have to consider wear and tear and new machines as they come out. So you're going to have to sell your old machines, these 100 machines you bought 1 year to 1.5 to 2 years later, whatever it is, and buy the new machines. So you're going to be able to recoup your $40,000, $50,000. You're going to have to put in probably another $40,000 or $50,000, and you'll be able to redo your facility with the latest new machines so that you can maintain your profitability, which is the $12.66 a day, depending on the price of Bitcoin and the difficulty. So now that you understand the basic concept of how this works and how you can actually make money Bitcoin mining, let me paint a picture of how I see the next 3 or 4 years going. So let's start with some basic information. The last halving was in July 2016. The next halving is expected to take place in July 2020 and is based on a lot of information and statistical data. I believe each Bitcoin will be worth a lot more than $20,000 each. I am giving you the lowball number, and a lot of people believe it could be as high as $60,000 in 2020 going into 2021. I've actually posted a video where I publicly stated this back in January or December of last year. I'll put the link down in the description as well that you guys can go check out. And it gives you my predictions on Bitcoin and where and how and why I think it has these prices and why I think it can command these prices and where I think it can go. So back to our current thing at hand. Now let's take a look at the computers and the processors themselves. As we all know, processors have been getting smaller and more powerful and efficient, extremely efficient as time goes by over the last 50 years or so. Basically, all of this is going to come to a screeching halt due to the substructures that we use to make these processors called cilia. The architecture of the processors referred to in nanometers. The example, let's actually read what this is saying. The examples of the prior miners for Bitcoin used 27 nanometer processors, and its processors prior to that, its predecessors, were 57 nanometer processors. So you can see it was a huge jump. It goes from 57 nanometers all the way to 27 nanometers. In today's S9, it's actually using 14 nanometer processors. This is why I said earlier you've got to update your hardware as soon as the new hardware comes out. Because from 27 nanometer processor to 14 nanometer processor is substantial. It's way more power efficient, way more powerful, period. So you have to upgrade in order to stay profitable. Now, the next ones to hit the market are either going to be either 12 nanometers or 10 nanometers. We're reaching a bottleneck. What most people don't understand is that the smallest we can go using cilia is actually 10 nanometers. Now, this past summer, IBM actually announced that they have invented a new substructure to be used to make the new processors as small as 7 nanometers. But this is not supposed to hit the market for about 8 years. So let's say that this window is a lot smaller and it comes in 3 to 6 years instead of the usual 1 year to usually the hardware changes every 6 months. 6 months to 1 year, new processors come out. Now that we're reaching the bottleneck point, I'm anticipating this to be every 2 years maybe. We'll start seeing upgrades to processors come out, and the upgrades will not be as substantial as they once were. So, therefore, what I'm trying to tell you is in this hardware, if you protect your hardware and you condition your hardware and try to make it last as long as possible, you will come out on top. because you will not need to cycle this hardware as often as we once did in order to stay on top in Bitcoin mining. And this is a very crucial piece of information, because now you can just say it's worth putting the AC systems in, or it's worth not trying to dehumidify the air that's going to your system so that you don't degrade them and they only have a year, 8-month lifespan. So you basically, every time you ROI, you cycle through them. Now, with this, I think we're going to be able to go 2 to 3 years. So you want your hardware to last. And I hope you guys found this as very informational and intriguing as I did. And hopefully this chart will help explain it. And you can see how delayed we are. They expected us to be at 14 nanometers in 2013. This chart's 7 years old. We didn't get to 14 nanometers until 2017, maybe late 2016. And it depends if we're talking about GPU processors or if we're talking about CPUs. But GPU processors are definitely right around 14 nanometers, even 16 nanometers. It depends. So now, Bitmain is the only Bitcoin mining hardware manufacturer to sell to the public, and they're based out of China. The new Bitcoin miners could hit the market any day now, but most likely I do not believe it's going to be for another 3 to 6 months. They usually released the Antminer S9 in late June of 2016, so I expect they will release the new ones around the same time or towards the end of the year like they did in the past. In this business, timing is everything, so you want to get your hands on the new hardware as soon as it's released. So obviously I was wrong. I said the next 3 to 6 months or towards the end of the year. We have not got to the end of the year yet, so Bitmain may release their new miner, which I think is going to be the new 10 nanometer. Whether it's going to be this year or first quarter of next year, it's coming. The S9s have been out for a while. Yes, they're extremely profitable, but I promise you, there's a new, better chip out there. Whether it's released to the public or not, it's coming. Be aware of it. And keep these things in mind when you're trying to build your farm. Now, let's assume they continue with their same path, and it's about twice as strong as the old version. I think that they're going to be around the 10 nanometers, as I just said, and they should make somewhere around $13 to $15 a day, minus your power cost. Where the $13 to $15 a day was based on your $9 point. So if they're 3 times more powerful, you're looking at making 15 times 3, $45 a day for the new miners if and when they come out, if this pricing and everything stays the same. So we're going to stick with $13 to $15 a day because it's probably more realistic and probably going to be closer to what the average will wind up being. Now, they will cost more when they come out, so you're going to have a higher cost basis. And I was showing here how your ROI, if you got in as soon as they came out, right around 170 days versus the 240 days they were earlier on. So that's why it's so crucial to try to get the hardware as soon as it hits the market. Now, there are problems with getting it as soon as it hits the market. It may be buggy. You may run into other issues. The drivers may not work right. You may just get defective hardware, and you may have to deal with shipping it back and forth. And there's so many drama and so much headache that can really happen. I've been around this long enough to see it. Just not everything is gravy, and you've got to think about the downside too and be aware of it. So I wanted to show you here, based on my expected potential hash rate. The chart below is based on 0.07 kilowatt price, so it's 7 cents a kilowatt at 25 terahashes. So I'm assuming the new miners, instead of being 14 terahashes, could be 25 terahashes. I wouldn't be surprised if they're as high as 30 terahashes. We will see, and only time will tell. So the chart above is just an estimate of what the new miners can produce. I'm trying to give new people a vision of where this can go and what is going to be possible. Let's see. Now we have some of the... Okay, this is actually talking about North Carolina again. This is more for us personally in here. We're one of 6 cities with Google Fiber, which is great. It gives us massive speed. But again, this isn't going to apply to most of you guys out there that are watching this video and going through it. So let's see. All right, now that you are excited about the small picture, let's take a look at the big picture. There's a lot more to this. In my opinion, this is going to be the last opportunity the small guy is going to have a chance to get into the large-scale mining operation, which basically means you're wanting to get into the new world banking system. Just like Visa and MasterCard gets a transaction fee for every transaction that goes through their network, the same is true for the Bitcoin network, except for it's decentralized and not controlled by a single company. So the idea is in the future, the more of the network you control, the higher network fees you would get. Now, it's probably going to take another 5 or 10 years before the fees are substantial, but you're going to need every bit of that time to get the largest infrastructure possible. Again, I'm talking, this is what I'm thinking and I would like to do with my father and my grandfather and my family, but you guys can use the same information. I'm sharing it with you to the public, and I hope you guys do appreciate it. Now, do you remember the Bitcoin chart I proposed above, which was actually at January 30th of 2017? Now, we thought that, let's see, I'm sure that you're thinking I had a nice run, but I wouldn't put any money into it because it's going to fall. This is what the chart looked like. And it's pretty much what my grandfather and other people told me. They're like, man, it really went up quite a bit. And unfortunately, my grandfather did not buy any Bitcoin. But we did get into the mining facility. Here's the same chart 21 days later. It went from the $930 to well over 1,100 or so. Now, this chart is from February 20th. We are now on Halloween, October 31st, and Bitcoin broke $6,000. It is right now $6,000, $378.98, which is incredible. I wish people took me more seriously when I showed them this PDF, but they didn't. So I'm also hoping to share this with you guys in hopes that other people will take me more serious as you see my PDF and see this video and realize Bitcoin is not going anywhere. It's just the tip of the iceberg. Now, investment analysts peg Bitcoin's price to hit $3,678 if the FCC approves the ETF on March 11, 2017. Now, we already know that did not get approved. I was just trying to show here that a lot of smart people, and myself, and I'm not saying I'm smart, but I thought that Bitcoin could hit a high of $3,600. I agreed with that price. In my wildest dreams did I ever fathom that Bitcoin was going to hit the $6,378 this year. I thought it would hit $4,000 and maybe come back down, and by the end of the year, slowly climb back up to the 4,000 mark and start to stabilize and find a good foundation. Boy, was I wrong. It did way better than that. Now let me blow your mind. Bitcoin is not the only cryptocurrency. There are actually hundreds of them attempting to decentralize real-world problems using the new technology known as blockchain. Now, there are at least 4 or 5 that are very profitable to mine right now. One of my favorites is Ethereum, and Ethereum is a you could use it for a transfer of wealth, but its main purpose is not like Bitcoin as a transfer of wealth. It's the ability to have smart contracts. It's the ability to run autonomous programs on the network and not just be a store of value. Library is another good example. They're using blockchain technology to actually store videos, books, media, any kind of digital information now can be put into the blockchain. Not just records of who owns what and the value of this. They can actually add other information. So there's a lot of different possibilities within the blockchain community, and it's so early in its stages that every day there are new emerging possibilities and people thinking of great ideas to revolutionize the way that we use this technology. But again, this is for a whole nother video or a whole nother PDF. I'm trying to just skim the surface and give you an idea of how this type of stuff is not to be just looked over. It is really going to change the world as we know it. Long story short, again, this is more for my family. and not for this video. I was trying to propose to my family to get them to invest into a data center, so that I obviously like the hardware. I like playing with it. I think it's very fascinating. And unfortunately, I didn't have the funds, so this was a way that I can work with my dad, my grandfathers, and my uncles, in order to bring them into this realm and give me the opportunity to learn more and dabble more, and also make my videos and teach people as I learn. This is ultimately an evolving, diverse business model. Again, this is more for the family than it was for the video, but I'll go ahead and leave this stuff here in case you want to, propose to your own family and friends to build a mining center or do something in your backyard or shop or whatnot. It is the future, and it is coming our way fast. That I propose to set up will have the capabilities to invest in upcoming technologies as the world. Well, basically, there's always new cryptocurrencies, as I just mentioned, that are coming out. Whether it be older or newer ones, whatever we feel that we like or we want to support, it will give us the ability to support the network, not only buy the token or the cryptocurrency itself. It's that we can support it in more of a mining aspect. We're actually helping turn the wheels of this big infrastructure. Pedal back, looking at library, take a quick look at their platform, essentially a decentralized YouTube or Netflix, which gives the power back to the creators instead of the large corporate guys. As I said before, they were having the ability to put videos, any kind of digital assets onto the blockchain technology instead of using just funds or money. So I'm sure you've heard of Uber. Wouldn't you have loved the chance to get in on the ground level with them? Here's your opportunity, Bitcoin. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed my presentation. I gave it my all. I'm sure there's going to be some questions that I did not cover. Make sure to ask them down in the description or down under the video. I will do my best to answer all of them. I hope that you feel that you have a better understanding of what Bitcoin is. Again, this is not investment advice, but I do believe this is the wave of the future, and I wanted to share the knowledge that I had with everybody. Again, thank you guys. Make sure to give us a thumbs up if you like the video. If you don't like it, give me a thumbs down. I'll try to do better next time. Talk to you guys later on. See you, Bitcoin Universe.